This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to give everybody a website exclusive video here on YouTube. As you can see, I'm removing my videos after I put them up after a day or two, just for safety purposes. It's not really any point in me losing this channel. And obviously that is very, very possible very, very soon. So that being said, I do have another channel, which you could check out, where I will be doing Bible readings for anyone interested. Link below until that channel is built out. And I'll probably continue doing Bible readings on that channel as well as making my normal content. So make sure you subscribe to that now if you haven't already. And I also want to let everybody know that content is going up on the website continually. So hopefully more and more of you will join the website. But this video is about everything you're seeing going on in America. And I won't rant and ramble about it. I'm just going to show it to you. So this is something from the website. I wanted everyone out there to see it so you could understand, especially the young teens out there who are seeing the world around them collapsing, how this is deliberately being done by these actors in Congress on the left and the right, because the New World Order can't go forward without the entire system being destroyed. And that's why you're seeing from both sides corruption, right? The Republicans want to pull down the DOJ and the FBI and the CIA, which we all agree with, but at the same time, this is being done by design, right, to eliminate and abolish these systems. The other side wants to see the Supreme Court taken down. We're seeing, the stuff in Tennessee. So I'll play the video now. I thank everyone for being here. Make sure you watch it. It's only going to be up for probably 2 days, and then I'll be taking it down, and that's the way I'm going to continue forward. These videos, most of the videos will be going up on Rumble. However, I will not be putting up website videos there. That's exclusively for the website. This is just a little something I want everyone to see, because this is important that you understand psychologically what's going on. So here's the video. Thanks, everybody.
YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show, exclusively here on acallforanuprising.com. This is an important video about psychological warfare. And I hope you'll share this information with people about what actually is going on. People need to realize that the left and right have both been compromised. Both sides are completely compromised. What's happening here in America is they need to convince the entire country that the way the country is set up right now, the whole system, the democratic quote-unquote system, capitalism, etc., has failed, that it is not working for people. That's why you're seeing both sides sabotage the system, from Trump to all the other people. Now, everybody thinks Trump is trying to save the system, but they're all calling for certain things to happen, and all these things have to happen for the New World Order to be put in place, which is a communist government, okay? Communism cannot be in place when we already have a system in place. You can't just wake up tomorrow and say, hey, there's no Supreme Court. Hey, there's no Senate. There's no House of Representatives. Everything we've ever known and been taught in schools, you can't have it gone and just say, hey, you know what, we decided it's better for society. Because then the left and right get together and they go, this is bullcrap, we didn't vote on this. So instead they destroy it from within. So we know Klaus Schwab and all these globalists have infiltrated all the cabinets around the world, all forms of government. It came out of his own mouth, which you all probably know, I've covered before. So in France, we're seeing, and that's the reason you're seeing uprising all around the world. Okay, that's why you're seeing people like me silence versus people who are keeping you in the left-right paradigm. Because the right is also going to be sabotaging the democracy. The left thinks that the people on the right are doing the same thing. They both think one another's doing the same thing. Oh, the right's taking away democracy. In reality, the left's really the ones who are taking away democracy, but the right are feeding right into it. So it's working exactly the way they want. There's a reason that France and all these other countries are having the same thing happen, because it's happening worldwide. It's a globalist government. So if you haven't seen in France, they're waiting on the people in France to get worn out. They've actually gone into BlackRock and they've protested in, I believe, blew up a building or lit a building on fire. People are aware of who the ones are behind it. They still have the military protecting them. There's still going to be conflict between us and them. The problem is all the other people in the middle who are going to become a problem. And that really in America is the liberal movement. It's a clueless movement. They're living in an alternate reality. So as I say all those things, they have to convince people that the system is broke. So how do you convince people the system is broke? You show both sides a flawed system. All these things that are going on at once, I'm going to show you, and you're going to probably sit there and go, oh yeah, that is kind of strange. They're all happening at once from both sides, and they all have to do with the absolute foundations of the government that's in place. Again, you're not going to wake up tomorrow and have communism in place. They're going to put it in place, and they're not going to tell you it's communism. It's going to have a new name, right? And people are going to say, well, this system's way better. That other system was flawed, because they're showing you both sides are flawed. What are they showing the right? They're showing the right that the CIA, the DOJ, and the government is flawed because they're weaponizing the government against Republicans, right? What do the liberals think? The liberals are saying the court system is flawed, that it's oppressing women, that it's oppressing transgenders, right? Oh, Roe v. Wade and all that stuff. So we need to take down the Supreme Court. The other side saying we need to take down the DOJ. So it starts with narratives like this. Defund the police. Why? What does that bring in? It brings in a military state, military police. You defund the police. You let the police sit back while criminals run amok. You get people and pawns in place, like currently the person that just got put in place in Chicago. Chicago is getting absolutely destroyed by criminals on purpose. People should be able to see that. People should say, hey, we need to put somebody in place that's going to stop crime. What do? They put an even more extreme liberal in place. Well, anybody suspicious of it? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. But then you have the right questioning the votes, which is what they want. When in reality, both sides know the votes don't matter. In Congress, the people don't know that. And they're obviously asking people to come out and say that voting, they're saying it's all rigged, et cetera. The liberals are saying it's not rigged, that people actually want this system. Meanwhile, they're calling on all these things to destroy democracy in reality on both sides. So again, the defund the police movement's in place. The guy gets elected in Chicago, put there, is just another pawn, just like Trump's a pawn. So we have the defund the police movement. Then we have Trump coming out, and he's talking about defunding the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ. Now, those all sound like wonderful things on paper. Everybody who's, into quote-unquote conspiracy knows that the CIA is controlling everything, along with their other wings, the DOJ, the FBI. They're all fully compromised. The only reason that people on the right are questioning the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ is because they want them to question it. Fox News is putting it out there about how corrupt the DOJ and the CIA is. They're making it overly obvious that they're corrupt. Because in this new order, there isn't going to be a CIA, an FBI, and a DOJ. It's just going to be renamed. When the CIA came into, was put in place, it was just called the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services. Sounds pretty, okay, what is that? Sounds like it's something at work. The OSS became the CIA, and the CIA, the DOJ, and the FBI are all going to become something else, probably the Ministry of Truth. But they're all going to be renamed. So the CIA knows what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose. They're the ones who are controlling this psychological operation, and they don't want people to realize that it's just a massive mind effing that's going on both sides, and they're the ones pulling the strings. That's what mind control is, MK Ultra, all the experiments that they've done over the years on humanity, and now we're seeing it in full effect. So the fact that Trump is calling for them to be defunded is part of the plan, because in order for this system to be in place, there will be no FBI, CIA, and DOJ. It'll just be renamed. So realize that now. Because when you get pulled into it and you're like, yeah, you know what though? Trump does say some good things. We need to defund the CIA. We need to get rid of these people. They're corrupt. They're the ones censoring people like a call for an uprising. Yeah, they're the ones censoring people like me, but the other side's going to get censored too. It's just all part of the plan. It's all part of the wicked plan that they have. Of course, I'd like to see them silenced and replaced, but they wouldn't be allowing people to openly talk about this stuff. Fox News wouldn't be allowed to openly talk about the DOJ and showing you all these cases, these specific things like rules for me, not for thee, right? Like Trump getting prosecuted versus Biden not. You don't think that's on purpose? It's not on purpose just because the Democrats are the communists. It's on purpose because they want the right to call for the destruction of these things. Because both sides are going to cancel each other out. Remember when all this stuff started with the free speech maybe 5 years ago? I warned about how both sides were going to cancel each other out. I talked about just with free speech. If I called the bond canceling free speech of people who are doing videos on me, then I'm no different than them. Right? And I said it's a very dangerous thing. Now it's commonplace, right? Censoring one another, canceling one another, it's commonplace because over time with repetition, it just becomes the new reality, right? So now we have both branches, the right and left, calling for defunding, replacing, and canceling out one another. Because once it's all canceled out and everything's rubble, Then they build in the new government. So you have Trump calling for that. You have the left calling for defund the police. I mean, can you not see military state? Then you get people like Clarence Thomas, right? Clarence Thomas is the Supreme Court guy who, was involved in the Roe v. Wade stuff. Now they're calling for Clarence Thomas because he accepted luxury tips from somebody, that he needs to go. And they're saying that the Supreme Court, that was the whole point of the Roe v. Wade, is that the Supreme Court doesn't work. It's not fair. We need to abolish the Supreme Court. See how it's making sense now? So that's the role that Clarence Thomas is playing. I mean, if anyone was actually using reality here, couldn't you call the liberals racist because they're going after Justice Clarence Thomas? He's just another puppet too that's in place. Okay? They're all in place to sabotage. They've been put there to sabotage. They are in a secret brotherhood. The secret societies come above everything else to them except for Lucifer. They do not care about the people. They do not care about how they're looked at in society. They care about how they're looked at in their secret society. We're going to them. We're nothing, right? So let's recap, just so we can all understand this. You destroy the police. Trump's now breaking the infrastructure inside of our government, the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ, right? It's, of course, all leading for some type of false flag attack on this country. Clarence Thomas and the Supreme Court, they want it destroyed and abolished, right? Roe v. Wade is everyone in an uproar. Then you have the stuff at the Capitol. And, of course, conveniently, you have this situation in Tennessee, right? We had 3 Democratic politicians in Tennessee who went to the Capitol building with trans people who went there to call for gun control after the shooting. Of course, you see how things work, problem, reaction, solution. After the shooting that took place at the Catholic or whatever it was, the Christian school, right? All the trans showed up there instead of, laying low about a trans being the shooter, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, it was about gun control. And the 3 politicians showed up there, okay? And while the 3 politicians were there calling for gun control, of course, they all held the number 7 up in the air. Why 7? Well, 6 people died, but they're saying that the shooter was a victim too. Right? So this riles up the other side. See, it just goes back and forth. It's psychological, right? So what ends up happening? It works perfectly with the script. I mean, it's so scripted and so obvious. It's incredible. You get 3 of them are up for being expelled. They are conveniently calling themselves the Tennessee 3. Kind of like the West Memphis 3, huh? But the Tennessee 3. 2 are black, 1 is a white woman. And 2 of them conveniently get expelled. Which 2? Well, the black 2, right? And who walks the white woman? The white woman's allowed to stay in Congress. The other 2 are expelled. They're thrown out. Oh, boy. Nobody could see themselves getting played here? Of course that was deliberately done. Nobody discussed, hey, we should throw all 3 out. Maybe people will possibly think that we're racist because we picked 2 and we let 1 walk, even though the one white woman did the same thing as the others. So then the white woman comes out conveniently as a liberal and says the reason that she is allowed to stay in Congress is because she's white. You see how this works psychologically? So now people in Tennessee are doing what? They're calling for the destruction of the judicial system. It's all flawed. It doesn't work. The American experiment doesn't work. So suddenly, in the history of America, which isn't that much of a history, but let's just say since World War II, other than things, of course, there's been events, right? There's been psyops and false flags that they've created. Let's wipe all that aside. Let's just say in day-to-day life, as far as the system working, for the most part, of course it's worked. Has anyone questioned the way America was working in the 70s, 80s, 90s, other than like Vietnam and the hippie movement and false flag events like Waco, et cetera? No, they weren't. They were saying, well, we're the best country in the world. We're a powerhouse because the system did work. The problem is that these people continued to try to infiltrate to destroy the system. This goes back to the Hollywood blacklist, which I covered on YouTube, right? They wanted to destroy the system. They are absolutely the sickest people. These are, Nazis. These are Rothschilds. These are people who have completely brainwashed our nation now. Over this whole psyop's only been going on for about 7 years, 8 years. I mean, Trump really started this whole thing, where they started agitating each side so much so. It's never been like this. If you're a teenager in your 20s, it's never been like this. Of course, there's been tension between the left and right. Now it's at the point where if you know a lib, you can't even have a conversation with them. And I feel the same way. If I go near somebody and they start talking and acting like trans stuff is normal, they don't realize that they've had it ingrained in them and it's not normal. And they're like, you're a bully if you say, it's incredible. They're completely conditioned. So we're living amongst 2 species now of people. That's what we're living amongst. But they've convinced both sides that the system's flawed. That's the point. Because if the right looks at all this stuff and says these commies are just taking over, and it's just a 50% thing, it's not going to work. They need to convince both sides. So the other side says, well, you're going to take down the Supreme Court and you're going to take down the whole justice system because it's corrupt and nobody's holding Biden accountable. They're going after Trump and there's nothing there. So it's rules for me, not for thee. And the DIJ and the CIA and the FBI are silencing anybody that speaks against the communist government. Well, then we're going to take that down. And they're just going to sledgehammer each side down, like I said, until it's a pile of rubble. And then when it's a pile of rubble, they'll probably kick more dirt on top by doing some type of false flag with Russia or China. And then they'll build out of the ashes, the phoenix will rise. That's the expression, or not the expression. This is the motto, the phoenix rises. This is an occult motto that you see. You see a lot of celebrities always using it as their logo and things like that. The phoenix rising. This is the satanic government being put in place. But it cannot be put in place without both sides destroying it. They cannot just wake up tomorrow and put this government in place. They have to convince people, that's the key word, convince people that a system that has worked for the most part. I'm not saying it's a great system. I mean, obviously with the taxes and all that stuff, it's bullcrap. But compared to what's coming, you're going to be begging for it. I'll tell you that. But they have to convince people. They have to convince people of a communist government. Otherwise, it never works. It will never work. And they're not going to call it communism. It's going to have a new name. Just like the CIA and the DOJ are going to have a new name, which was once the OSS. See how this works? It continues to evolve. And that's when I exposed all those symbols like infinity and these symbols that mean infinite, eternal. Because they're still here. They've never left. They've renamed themselves Illuminati, right? And to, all these other secret societies, Freemasonry. They've renamed it. They've hidden themselves. And they'll continue to do so. They're just going to convince the right because the right's going to go, we have to get rid of these things too. And I'm not saying that we don't. Of course we do. But it's not about getting rid of the system. It's about getting rid of the people, but that's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. We have a weakened society now. They've gotten full control because everybody's so weak and everybody's keyboard warriors and et cetera, et cetera. This would have, that's the whole reason of everything they've done to weaken society. 100 years ago, this would have been a revolutionary war. This would have been insanity. People would have laid their lives down for this cause. Even if this cause now is so meaningful to all of us, the majority of people will not lay their life down because they're weak, because they'll just go, and they're scared. That's part of the psychological ops that have been going on with, over the last 50 years with movies and television. They're afraid. And they're going to be convinced, just like they're convinced that men are now women and women are men, they're going to be convinced that this new government is the best thing for them and that the old government was a nightmare and a disaster. And they're going to realize one day, some of them, like in Westworld, the outliers, they're going to wake up and they're going to go, holy crap, we're under total control. We're under total surveillance. They'll be convinced to make a surveillance state's great. There's no crime anymore. They're not going to say, oh, the only reason there was crime running amok is because the communists and government were allowing them to run amok on both sides, Republican and liberal. They go, oh, we needed the surveillance state, so there's not criminals running amok, and there's no fentanyl and all this stuff. Okay, put it in place. And then suddenly, when they have some ideas that go against the regime, they're going to get doxxed, as far as, taxed, I should say. Credits and social scores affected and be locked in their, smart city apartments, etc. And at some point, they're probably going to, some of them will wake up, not the majority. The majority is going to go through life and they're going to be that's it. They're just kind of just pointless wastes of lives, unfortunately. That's what mind control does. But others are going to go, we had it really good before. How did we get to this point? And it's going to be too late. And just like they're doing now, they're not going to say, well, this is what happened. This is why we brought it in. They're not even going to have to answer for how we got to this point or why they did what they did. Just like now, they don't answer for anything. People are like, Carl, you should sue YouTube. Sue them for what? It's controlled. I mean, there's a lot of reasons I could sue them. Religious freedom, these things don't exist anymore for us. There are different laws in place and different rules in place. This is done by design. It's almost like they're baiting people like us. You can't take the bait. You can't fall into the trap of the left-right. The only way to come out of it is to come out of it. And that would be the only way to topple it. But it's not going to be, because you could see and you could feel how bothered the majority of people are. I'm sure a lot of you are friends with people who are, even if they don't, believe in Trump, you hear them and you go, oh yeah, we need to stop this. Stop the trans insanity. Because all these things that are happening are insane, right? Well, the government, all this stuff is getting destroyed. Like yesterday, the government's being destroyed around us. The economy, the dollar, all this stuff that's really important. Trains are blowing up, chemicals in the air, water contaminated, all these things that should be important. What's important? What's the headline you say? Oh, Joe Biden signs into law, something protecting trans athletes, but also making sure that, that it's fair with trans athletes and that a man dressing as a woman isn't doing it, affecting the woman, or, in other words, like if I just put on a wig and go play, and then they're like, oh, this is an improvement for trans athletes in schools. Oh, that matters so much. It matters so much as China and Russia and all these countries are working with our own country to destroy us. Psychologically, kids are thinking that they're women. Boys, thinking they're women. Women thinking they're men. People killing themselves. People taking away free speech from one another because they're so weak that they can't handle somebody else's words. What's the government doing? We're putting in place the high school girls that trans people can play. Oh! Remember the documentary I uploaded on communism talking about it? I'm sure some of you saw it. I could re-upload it, probably maybe on Rumble or something. Right? How they have to weaken you. That's part of it. They've been working on weakening us. They've been chipping away at us with technology, with constantly all these shows talking about feelings. Find your inner you. Be your true self. Go back to the Wild Wild West and go up to somebody and be your true self. Are you being you? Have you channeled your inner you? These people would be like, what the F are you talking about? What are you, Be my inner me? What do you mean? They pull out a gun in the saloon. They'd be like, look, lady, man, I'm looking for my next job, or I've got a job here. I'm looking to get my next meal. All things that we've taken for granted. Food, water, electricity, right? Spoiled, rotten, plumped up with fast food and everything else, like Hansel and Gretel. Ever think of the comparisons to that? And they're going to pull the plug real soon. And people are going to go nuts. It's going to be chaos. People aren't going to have food. They're not going to have their phones for a temporary period. Oh, they're going to be bouncing off walls. They're not even going to take what you got because they think in their mind, because they've been trained to be narcissists, that what you have belongs to them. That's the liberal mindset now. What's yours is theirs. They're victims. Narcissism, social media. That's how we've gotten here. And it's all been done by design, not because Mark Zuckerberg came up with a great idea and then someone else did in Silicon Valley and they made a lot of money and they were entrepreneurs. It's all done by design by our central intelligence agencies, by our government agencies. The plan has always been to destroy this country, the strongest country in the world, the most armed country in the world. Destroy it. Take it down at its knees. Bring it down to its knees. Then kick it down on its face, and then curb stomp it. And that's what's going on right now. So don't think for 1 second and fall into the trap of the right, as good as it sounds. Now, they may divide the left and the right at first and have different sets of government in place. Who knows what the plan is? That's what I think along the lines, because there's so many people that are not on board with this. Even though the mainstream media is the ones pushing it down everyone's throat, a lot of people aren't, but the youth are the ones that are in. That's why the youth is so important. That's why they've done what they've done to separate kids from their parents, put the mom and the dad in the workplace, and then shove these ideologies down their throats to brainwash them. They're all on board. They're like, why is it a problem that a man is being a woman? Why do you care? Like, what? Why is it a problem that drag queens want to sit in a library with your kids? What? Are you kidding me? Why is it a problem? This shouldn't even be a question anymore. We shouldn't even be, like I said in a recent video, we shouldn't even be entertaining the notion of this trans stuff. You know the way they don't entertain the notion of censorship on us and they just go misinformation? We shouldn't even be entertaining this in Congress. Can a man be what is a woman? What is a man? Those are strict WTF. But we're entertaining it. They've accomplished what they've needed to accomplish, and now they're ramping up. And it's scary to look at, but it's in place. So don't fall into the Trump narrative, because by doing what Trump's doing, it just works perfectly for them. Because again, the OSS became the CIA. All these secret agencies just renamed themselves. The CIA would not allow themselves to be smeared like this in public. They wouldn't allow Tucker Carlson to talk openly on the air about how the CIA was involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. They wouldn't do that. They'd say 20 or 30 years ago, Tucker Carlson would have got one in the head because he talked about it on national TV. But he wouldn't even have got the chance because it wouldn't even have made it to air. The screen would have went black. It wouldn't have made it to air. So you're hearing about these corrupt agencies on purpose because they want the other side to take down the government system as well. Both sides. Take it down, demolish it, turn it to rubble, and then the phoenix rise from the ashes. All but done by design, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate all of you being here greatly on the website. I hope you're seeing what I'm seeing and you understand this information. It's very important to understand what they're doing. And you might say, well, what are the answers for? Well, the answers for it, obviously the only answer is really Jesus Christ. Let's be real. Okay? But helping people come out of this is also part of what we can do. Because a lot of people who are Republican are going to take the mark. They're going to get sucked in this. Don't think Trump isn't playing a role in it. Don't think DeSantis and these guys. They're all plants. They're all globalists. All of them. It's just us versus them, and there's more of us. But sadly, when you psychologically, excuse the quote, but when you psychologically rape an entire world of civilians mentally, what more can you do other than try to pull them out of that and repair their brains to make them think critically again instead of being fed information and then repeating it and regurgitating it? But with the chemtrailing, the fluoriding, the chemicals in the food, how many people are on pharmaceuticals dealing with this anxiety and depression because of 5G, it is one heck of an uphill battle. I thank everyone for being here on the website. Hope you enjoyed the video. God bless all of you and your families.